turn your attention next to I can't quite believe that I'm helping to promote a non-fiction book that is published on November the 2nd. How did this happen? Does no one ever check the schedules?
Because you know very well that
What?
you're going to absolutely smash me in the charts. That's fine. I'm a slowly catchy monkey.
Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Conspiracy Tourist Travels Through a Strange World by Dom Joly looks at, well, you tell us.
Well, it's looking at the weird world of conspiracies. A bit like you, but online, I spend a lot of time finding myself in arguments with conspiracy theorists and conspiracy-minded. And in the old days, to me, conspiracies were fun. They were quite, almost amusing. Did we land on the moon? Yetis. It was kind of okay. And then suddenly it seemed, whether Yetis are conspiracy is another discussion. But then it seemed to me there was a shift in the world, and it became suddenly part of the body politic. It became quite scary. Trump, to me, the absolute changing moment was Kellyanne Conway saying alternative facts. Once alternative facts were out, then there's no truth. We're post-truth. And I'd fight these people, anti-Vaxxers and flat earthers and all sorts. And there was no point. And actually, the more I spoke to people, the more you realise that if you take on conspiracists, they actually retreat into their bunker. They're a bit like cult members. So I thought, and actually part of me thought, do you really believe this stuff? Or is it just, is it part of our polarised algorithms? And, so anyway, I just thought it would be a great way, because I've written a lot of travel books. I love going travelling and I need a reason. So I thought I'd go off around the world sort of hanging out in conspiracy places and with conspiracy people, firstly to see if they actually meant what they were saying, and secondly to try and work out, maybe I was wrong. I really tried to go with an open mind, but it didn't last too long.
No, I dare say. I didn't know that there are geographical focuses for conspiracy theories, because you mentioned the internet. I sort of think of them as, I suppose I'm saying I'm surprised you managed to
find destinations,
yes.
I mean. Well, two were very easy, because firstly, there's an amazing chart, a conspiracy chart by this woman called Abby Roberts, that I'm sure you've seen, which kind of charts the progressive insanity of conspiracy theories, starting with ones that might happen. And I had a look on that, and I thought I'd try and pick ones from, each rung. And the first thing that hit me was one said, Finland does not exist. And I thought, well, that's got to be done. And my wife, who I go travelling a lot and she doesn't go with me, had long said, I must come on one of your trips. So I thought, this is the one. Finland. So I took my poor long-suffering wife to Finland for 5 days to try and prove it exists. Now, the conspiracy is actually, it was a sort of joke on Reddit that kind of went viral. And then, like all these things, about 10% of people actually took it for real. And if you believe the conspiracy, it's that just at the end of the First World War, Russia and Japan conspired to pretend that Finland didn't exist, or they said Finland didn't exist, because actually what's there is sea, where they can have the fishing rights, and then the fish taken from Finland would be taken to Japan on the Trans-Siberian Express under the guise, which was very good for me, of Nokia products. It was fantastic.
So this is a perfect opening chapter in a way, because the natural response to that is for me to say to you, I have been to Helsinki.
Or have you? And
what would the people say in response to that?
Well, that was the whole point, really. I actually thought, because one of the big problems with conspiracy theories that you would know way more than me is the impossibility of arguing, proving a negative, arguing with conspiracy theorists. And I thought, actually, how do I? And I've now been to Helsinki, or have I? Because if you believe the very weird Finland deniers, they are actors, and I was actually landed in somewhere in Russia or Sweden. I asked the person when I landed, and I gave him my passport, where am I? And he said, Helsinki, Finland. Now, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I'd say, yeah, but you're in on it, aren't you? And then he'd point me maybe to my phone and say, well, why don't you look on the maps? I go, yeah, but who set up the maps?
Controlling the satellites?
It's always Bill Gates.
Yes, of course. He does get a lot of credit.
Bill Gates gets a lot of
everything, really. All roads lead to
I'm sure Bill Gates is not by any means a perfect person, but of all the billionaires to pick on, it seems to me Bill Gates is slightly more decent than a lot of them.
I don't think that's a coincidence.
You don't think so?
No. Now I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist.
You know what's going to happen, isn't it? It's going to be like you Gates shills after this.
Well, George Soros and Bill Gates.
And George Soros. If someone could tell me where to send an invoice.
Same here. I must be owed thousands. But they both are committed to using their fortunes to help lots of other people.
I agree.
So if you were a shady billionaire committed to not using your fortunes to help other people, then you would probably welcome the demonisation of Bill Gates and George Soros. So that's the closest I get to
That's a double conspiracy off, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
One of the other great things I find about conspiracies is that if you are, if it is this new secret world order and Illuminati and stuff, they seem incredibly keen to tell us about it. As an example, one of the things you really, if you look up conspiracies, Denver International Airport comes up a lot, and that's for many reasons. Denver International Airport is the largest land area of airport in America, despite it only being Colorado. And there's rumours that there's miles of tunnels underneath it. Again, conspiracy theorists obsessed with tunnels. If they find out about the London Underground, we're in trouble. And they think that's where the Illuminati are going to go when the rapture comes.
Right.
But, so you'd think you'd keep that quiet, but no, apparently if you look at Denver International Airport from the air, they've shaped the runways in the shape of a swastika.
So you know that this is the target.
Similarly, when that big ship got stuck in the Suez Canal, it was owned by a company called Evergreen, which turned out to be Hillary Clinton's code name. So, and apparently that was Hillary Clinton transporting children somewhere, and obviously she'd put her name along the side of the boat. In the end, actually, it was one of the things it was taking was a large plastic T-Rex.
This bit's true.
This bit's true to a playground. So the whole thing's very odd.
Well, so you meet the people as well. You meet.
I met some very strange people. I mean, the strangest one actually, well, the weirdest was actually in England. I found out about a hotel in Tintagel in Cornwall, owned by John Mappin, who you might be aware of.
From the Mappin and Webb jewellery family.
That's right. And he famously flew the QAnon flag on top of his castle, which is called Camelot Castle, which is a hotel. And I think he was giving discounts to anti-Vaxxers. So anyway, I thought, a weekend break here. So I went and stayed there. And it's very difficult to explain the madness of that weekend because there's a sort of captive artist kept in the basement, and the whole hotel is absolutely plastered in this frankly appalling art. And part of it seems to be quite sort of an attempt to sort of force sell this art. Everywhere it says, please go and see Ted's Lightbox, which I thought might be a euphemism, but it wasn't. It's all very weird.
Did you get a warm welcome? I mean,
to be fair, I did. I didn't hide. I've tried before to stay in hotels under pseudonyms. I did a tour once and signed in as Napoleon Bonaparte, but then when you lose your key, you have no ID saying you're Napoleon Bonaparte. So I went as me, and I spent a lot of time, maybe too much time, with Ted in his basement looking at his lightbox. But then I did finally get an audience with John Mappin. And you know what? When I met him, he seemed quite a decent, he's sort of someone you and I would probably recognise. And, you know, he's sort of very sure of himself and seemed fairly decent, sat there with his wife, and he started talking to me about stuff. And after a bit, I was sitting next to his dog, and I always trust people with dogs, which is not a great yardstick. And both the dog and I, after about half an hour, looked at each other and said, please, I've just got to get out of here, as it went progressively more bonkers.
Are there any uniting characteristics? Is that too glib a question? Do you sort of, can you point at a couple of things that they all have in common, all of the people who believe unbelievable things?
Well, I think one of the things is they're not, I think one of the cliches is that these people, conspiracists, are stupid. That's, I think, far from the case, actually. I think a lot of people, they overthink, if anything. I think the real weirdness about it is the sort of, I suppose the thing that unites them is that once you believe in one, you tend to sort of
Why is that, do you think?
I think because, well, firstly, I set up a fake Instagram page as a conspiracist, and oh my God, the algorithm, immediately gets to work. And it goes, oh, you're interested in flat earthers. Because I took a flat earther. There's a flat earth movement. I don't know if you know.
A bit about it.
There's a round flat earth movement, which is sort of classic flat earth.
Yes.
But there's a splinter group who are the square flat earth, who are the square flat earth, and they believe in four corners of the flat earth. And those four corners are Hydra in Greece, Papua New Guinea, the Bermuda Triangle randomly, and an island called Fogo off Newfoundland.
Okay.
So I took a flat earther to the island of Fogo to try and find the edge of the earth, and I won't ruin the book for you, but we didn't find it.
You did? Oh, well, that's a spoiler.
Yeah.
How many conspiracies are in there? Because there's more than one in some chapters, or at least they merge and
yeah, I mean, I basically did Does Finland Exist? I went on a massive American road trip, which incorporates Roswell, JFK. I chased Alex Jones around from InfoWars around Austin. Yeah. I went to Denver International Airport. Then I did the John Mappin, which is kind of vaxing and stuff. And then there's the Flat Earther. But as I'm going, when I was in Newfoundland taking the Flat Earther, you suddenly realise that the Titanic sank off Newfoundland, and there's a conspiracy about everything. There's a conspiracy that the Titanic wasn't the actual one that sank, it was an insurance job. There's another one classically that it was, or bankers were doing it to crash the pound, dollar or whatever. I mean, it's incredible how similar these stories are all the way through the...
Yes, but you can never quite pin down what the theme the thematic similarity is, can you? It's just a desire to believe, a desperate desire to believe there's something going on below the surface that only you and your fellow, oddly enough, your fellow Illuminati are party to.
I think it's a bit more than that. I think as humans, I think we like patterns, we like logic. And one of the real things that I found doing this book was essentially it's chaos. You know, the world is complex and chaotic.
Want to impose order
and people want to impose order. Secondly, if you feel slightly dispossessed, maybe things aren't going well, the idea that you have this secret knowledge that kind of gives you a reason why this hasn't happened is amazing. And also,
or if the world hasn't recognised your specialness.
Yeah, it does give you that. But also, most importantly, especially with social media, it gives you a tribe. You know, it's that your footballification thing. It is the tribe. You get a tribe.
Surrendering their actual families for membership of the actual tribe.
And if you want to leave, then you're a traitor. You know, I mean, you can't just suddenly change your mind. It's really difficult. I met a guy who was deep down the rabbit hole and got out. And he's had to sort of, it's like someone coming out of a cult.
Yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite? Is there one which you could have, but if you'd been born under a different star, you might have gone for?
Well, I really like the moon landing one because the moon landing, it's such a massive conspiracy,
yes,
but it kind of makes
so many people.
Yes,
wouldn't it?
But it does make sense because JFK promised that they'd have a man on the moon by the end of the decade, and they just squeezed it in. You can imagine them saying, "Can we film it?" And then there was that film called Capricorn 1 about it, which starred O.J. Simpson. The plot thickens.
Whoa. Yeah. And Hillary Clinton, I think.
Of course.
You're taking it on tour as well, Dom.
I am. So I'm doing a big UK tour in February, March. And if anyone would like tickets, go to domjoly.tv. Thank you for plugging that.
Lovely stuff. The Conspiracy Tourist travels through a strange world by Dom Joly is published tomorrow.